beginning of championship weekend is here on the campus of Fairmont State University in beautiful Joe Retton Arena as we get ready to crown a champion here in the Mountain East Conference for 2025 Acrobatics and Tumbling in our afternoon matinee, if you will, here, the Businessman Special, Frostburg State Bobcats and the Glenville State Pioneers. Colin Kirkwood and Christy Kiefer here with you once again. Christy, it's always a great time of year when we get to this point, and I always look forward to it, and I know you do too.
Oh, yes, we do, and we're so excited to see both of these meets today. They're both going to be highly competitive. We know that this is what everyone waits for, everyone works towards through the season. So it's finally here, and we're excited to see these two meets come to fruition.
We take a look here at the Frostburg State Bobcats, coming in here with a 4-5 record to this point in time. Might be a little bit of unfamiliar territory after a high of last season, but still coming in here with a chip on their shoulder and looking to prove things.
Oh, absolutely. I saw them compete a couple weeks ago, and very good team. I think that they would probably say maybe it's more of a rebuilding year for them, but, it's a strong team, and, it'll be exciting to see how everything turns out today.
And they had a very challenging regular season schedule when you take a look here. A lot of ranked opponents in Limestone, Long Island, of course, foes in Gannon and Fairmont State, who they may possibly see tomorrow. We don't know, but as well as a Glenville State program that's on the up and up. We'll get to that later, but they always find a way to challenge themselves.
Absolutely, and I think that many times people look at the win-loss record, and you can't do that. You've got to look at who they're competing against,
right.
And they've had a very tough schedule.
Over on the other side here, the Glenville State Pioneers, 7-2, like we said, a very strong season so far here, and they have some pretty lofty aspirations. They look to climb up that regional ranking as well as that entire ranking for the NCATA. But last time out for them, Bluefield State was a win, and that was back on April 5th. 261 to 184.
Very, very good win, very strong win. And you've watched Glenville throughout the year, and they continue to improve and increase their scores and get stronger and better.
Didn't get a chance to mention this, but the last time out for Frostburg before we move forward here, that was April 5th against West Liberty over in Bobcat Arena. 253 to 251, a close win over the Hilltoppers for the Bobcats.
Very, very close. And, at that point, it could be something very, very minute that separates them. So it's, like I said, it's going to be a good meet today.
And you want to talk about minute. You look at the last time these two got together back on February 19th. Glenville State got the win 240 to 237.
Yes.
Close margin.
Very close, very close, very close.
Some of the team introductions going on through here. Why don't we go ahead and step aside and meet both members of both of these teams and go on through and see who'll be competing here this afternoon in this matinee.
For over 4 decades, the health plan is called West Virginia Home. It all started with a vision to serve our community with pride and integrity. We've grown alongside West Virginia, becoming part of its fabric. We've been here through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Because at the health plan, we don't just work here, we live here. Proudly serving West Virginia since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community. The health plan, here for you.
At Glenville State University, you can discover friends to last a lifetime, professors who broaden your perspective, and the skills and education for future success in a small town environment. At Glenville State University, you can become a pioneer.
And there's a good look at the Joe Retton Arena here, a pivotal Mountain East Conference institution as we get ready for this matinee special, Frostburg State and Glenville State. It's Colin Kirkwood and Christy Kiefer here as we get ready to start out this weekend, and great to see you all. Glad for you to tune in, and we're excited for this between these two. But why don't we take a look at the bracket in the meantime here, and we can start to break that down, and we'll get ready for the evening experience as well that's coming up, and that'll be a fun time as always as the home fans really fill things up here when we get to that point. But there you can see on the bottom, Glenville State and Frostburg State in this 2-3 matchup, and then Fairmont State and a new opponent there in the Kutztown Golden Bears, Christy.
Yes, the Kutztown comes to us from the PSAC, and they are a very good team. They're an affiliate member of the MEC, and we're excited to see both of those teams meet up head-to-head this afternoon.
Should be an exciting affair when we get to that point, but of course it's going to be fantastic here as well. Why don't we step aside here and we'll take a look at the introductions for both of these teams.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to welcome our teams to the floor. First, let's meet the visiting team on the scoreboard.
Virginia. I'm Ryan Fisk. I'm a freshman. I'm a bass and a tumbler, and I'm from Chandler, Arizona.
Hi, I'm Alina Blass. I'm a freshman. I'm a top tumbler.
Hey guys, I'm Caitlin Anea. I'm a senior, bass from Sayreville, New Jersey.
Eleanor Ongren, junior, bass top tumbler, Ferndale, Michigan.
Hi, my name's Nia Ivanov. I'm a senior. I'm a bass top tumbler from Clark Summit, Pennsylvania.
Hi, I'm Michaela Ellis. I'm a sophomore bass tumbler from Annapolis, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Grace Whaley. I'm a freshman. I'm a bass tumbler, and I'm from Annapolis, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Megan Dunster. I'm a senior. I'm a top, and I'm from Bluemont, Virginia.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Coyne. I'm a senior bass from Middletown, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Isabel Mungaluzzo. I'm a junior. I'm a bass tumbler, and I'm from Myersville, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Callie Miller, a junior bass tumbler from Frederick, Maryland.
Hey, I'm Marion Pastore. I'm a junior. I'm a bass and tumbler from Norwood, Massachusetts.
Caitlin Perry, sophomore, bass from Frederick, Maryland.
Hi, my name is Fathia Sharif. I'm a first year. My position is a bass, and I come from Montgomery County, Maryland.
Hello, I'm Ashton Evans. I'm a junior. I'm a bass top tumbler from Angola, Indiana.
Hi, I'm Emily Brooks. I'm a freshman, and I'm a bass tumbler, and my hometown is Harpers Ferry, West Virginia.
Hey, I'm Madison Oliver. I'm a freshman. I'm a top, and I'm from Sayreville, New Jersey.
I'm Allie Hunt. I'm a freshman, bass tumbler, and I'm from Kings Park, New York.
Hi, I'm Alicia Monterey. I'm a junior. I'm a bass, and I'm from Lowell, Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Delaney Clark. I'm a freshman, and I'm a bass, and my hometown is LaVale, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Cameron O'Neill. I'm a freshman, a bass and tumbler, and I'm from Cumberland, Maryland.
Hi, I'm Lana Marie Cepeda. I'm a junior. I am a top bass tumbler, and I'm from East Brunswick, New Jersey.
Hi, my name is Julia Welch. I'm a sophomore. I'm a top tumbler, and I'm from Leesburg, Virginia.
Hi, I'm Joanna Welch. I'm a sophomore. I'm a top and tumbler, and I'm from Leesburg, Virginia.
I'm Ryan Fisk. I'm a freshman. I'm a bass and a tumbler, and I'm from Chandler, Arizona.
Hi, I'm Alina Blass. I'm a freshman. I'm a top tumbler, and I'm from Ashburn, Virginia.
Hi, I'm Bailey Minifield. I'm a freshman. I'm a top and tumbler, and I'm from Chandler, Arizona.
Caitlin Green, junior, bass tumbler, North Wales, Pennsylvania.
Sydney O'Connor, Ramsey, Minnesota.
Remy Shumate, Colton, West Virginia.
Abby Hall, Augusta, West Virginia.
Hannah Smith, Hamlin, West Virginia.
Caitlin Looney, Tuttle, Oklahoma.
Jillian Hine, Clawson, Michigan.
Meredith Taylor, Fairmont, West Virginia.
Sydney West, Ramsey, Minnesota.
Ayla Webster, Fairmont, West Virginia.
Megan Bankus, Bowmanstown, Pennsylvania.
Aubrey Ward, Huntington, West Virginia.
Samantha Bragg, Branchville, West Virginia.
Gianna Filosa, Bridgeport, West Virginia.
Savannah Duckworth, Worthington, West Virginia.
Amelia Underwood, Bridgeport, West Virginia.
Carrie Remy, Spencer, West Virginia.
Madeline Countryman, Grafton, West Virginia.
Jesslyn Duckworth, Worthington, West Virginia.
Riley Lowther, Fairmont, West Virginia.
Peyton Saminsky, Statesville, North Carolina.
Delaney Rosales, South Elgin, Illinois.
Sydney O'Connor, Ramsey, Minnesota.
Remy Shumate, Colton, West Virginia.
Abby Hall, Augusta, West Virginia.
Hannah Smith, Hamlin, West Virginia. Caitlin Looney, Tuttle, Oklahoma.
Jillian Hine, Clawson, Michigan.
Meredith Taylor, Fairmont, West Virginia.
Sydney West, Ramsey, Minnesota.
Ayla Webster, Fairmont, West Virginia.
Megan Bankus, Bowmanstown, Pennsylvania.
Aubrey Ward, Huntington, West Virginia.
Samantha Bragg, Branchville, West Virginia.
Gianna Filosa, Bridgeport, West Virginia.
Savannah Duckworth, Worthington, West Virginia.
Fairmont State University is a great place. A cozy campus surrounded by nature and outdoor adventure. An authentic school filled with friendly people who are down to earth. People who roll up their sleeves, help each other out, get stuff done, and have fun doing it. That's what makes Fairmont State such a great place. It's a great place to make friends for life and a great place to soar. Learn more at fairmontstate.edu.
For over 4 decades, the health plan has called West Virginia home. It all started with a vision to serve our community with pride and integrity. We've grown alongside West Virginia, becoming part of its fabric. We've been here through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Because at the health plan, we don't just work here, we live here. Proudly serving West Virginia since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community. The health plan. Here for you.
And a good look there at the side of the Frostburg State Bobcats as they get ready for action here this afternoon. It's not often we get a chance to have a matinee like this, but, you know, we'll take advantage of it.
Absolutely. They're getting the last-minute instructions from their coaches, getting ready to start off with our compulsory.
And over there's Glenville State going through their last-minute prep as well. Why don't we take a look at the description here for event number 1 as we get ready to kick things off this afternoon.
Compulsory event represents the basic skills of the sport of acrobatics and tumbling. In this event, each team will execute the same skills for direct comparison. The first event is the compulsory event. The compulsory event consists of 4 heats: an acro heat, a pyramid heat, a toss heat, and a tumbling heat. These skills for the compulsory event represent the basic skills of the sport of acrobatics and tumbling. In this event, each team will execute the same skills for direct comparison. Each heat begins with a starting value of 10, and the officials will be looking for execution, body positions, and stability of structures.
And our raucous crowd here this afternoon is ready as the Bobcats take the floor to kick us off here this afternoon.
Yes, we're starting off with our compulsory acro. You will see 2 structures that match. We're looking at compulsory being the base or the foundation of the sport. And as you watch the skills, these are the first skills that they learn. Here you see an inversion. Looking for stability, body placement, and synchronization.
I almost like to refer to things a little bit as a bit of a warm-up, if you will, as you start to build off what you practice here in this.
Yes, absolutely. Overall, they did a very nice job looking at synchronization off maybe a little bit at the end.
Noticed a little bit there towards that left side. It might have teetered a little bit up top, but other than that, like you said, things looking solid to start off here.
Yes, yes. But sometimes it's just a little bit of the nerves, jittery.
That's right.
When you first go off the mat.
Just get out there, get that first rep in there, if you will, and off you go, off and running.
Absolutely.
Glenville State will enter their first entry here shortly as they wait. A lot of energy here on this Friday afternoon.
Yes, as we look through the compulsory, all the start values are starting at a possible 10 points, and deductions will be made from those 10 points on the components we talked about: stability, synchronization, technique.
And we'll have to get the story on this here later on, but this good luck charm, if you will, here in the back for the Pioneers, that's something we're going to have to learn a little bit more about. I'm going to put on my detective hat, and we'll learn more about that as the afternoon goes along.
Absolutely. It's really fun to watch, like, the different teams come in, and they have their motivational pieces, so to say. Well,
if I remember correctly, last year, this team had arrived, and they were carrying, I believe it was Channing Tatum, if I'm not mistaken. There was something along the lines with him on it. I might be wrong in that department, but I believe that is correct. I'll have to see if somebody will call me out on that later. But I do think that's what it was as the Pioneers get ready to take the floor, and here they come. There's a pretty big contingent of Glenville faithful here this afternoon, and they're letting you know real quick after their first entry.
Yes, you'll notice that there's a person many times standing in between the two structures, and they're a counter.
Right.
And they're part of that group that they actually initiate the tempo and the rhythm for which they're executing their skills. And some teams have a counter, some events you'll see that they don't. That's preference, personal preference for the team and going through, but it helps them to stay synced.
And really, when you think about this building, it's become a bit of a staple in this sport, if you will. Of course, hosting the national championship last year and all the fun we had when it came to that. But seeing this event here more often than not, year in and year out, it's becoming a place of a real temple to the sport, if you will.
Well, we were one of the original schools that began it, and we pride ourselves in that. And I don't know if you noticed something new this year that we have in addition to last year.
Oh yes, that's right. The new video board here on the left side of things, a great new addition. You can always elevate the product with one of those. Frostburg State stepping up here as we get ready to kick off the Pyramid Heat now. I often wonder towards the top of those structures, what is going through your mind when you're up there right now, besides, oh, don't fall,
Right. I think that we could probably ask every athlete that, and we're going to find everyone has something different going through their minds. But, they're really focusing on trying to really stabilize, stay tight. They've practiced these skills so many times, it becomes muscle memory to them. But there's still little pieces that they've got to really target and focus on. So it's going to be interesting if we could just kind of dive into their minds and see what they really are thinking.
Glenville coming up here shortly to answer. And if you are just joining us, these two did meet in the regular season. That was back on February 19th, and that was down at the beautiful Waco Center in Glenville. 240 to 237 was the win for the Pioneers to that point in time. was the second time that Glenville's gotten a victory over Frostburg State in the all-time matchup between the two. Second time, as the first time was back in 2021, so I'm sure that felt good for this program.
Yes, we see so much excitement coming from Glenville, and I'm sure that plays into the role of it. We know that these teams are highly competitive, and athletes, they want to win. They're out there to do the very best that they can. We see Glenville taking the mat.
Very happy with that entry are the Pioneers, and rightfully so. Take a look here, first replay this afternoon. I don't know, Christy, if anything really sticks out to you as we watch over this again.
So very synced very well. And look at the extension of their legs. We're looking at the height of their legs, making sure that they are parallel, if not higher. Looking at the catch, making sure they have a high catch. The position of their legs. These are all different pieces that the officials are looking at.
Right along we go here as we step into the third heat. Ready for the toss here from the Frostburg State Bobcats.
Here we're going to watch the height of the tosses. We're going to watch how they sync the tosses together and looking at the time that they open out. And again, we look at the catches come through. It is a little difficult to get those together. You're tossing the same time, so again, you're really listening to those counts, and just a fraction off is really noticeable in the skill.
We will see the counter from the Pioneers here shortly. If you look at the Glenville State schedule, they did find a way, of course, to challenge themselves a bit here. Limestone on there, as well as, this is just something I want to mention alone. A road trip to, Honolulu, Hawaii. There are worse places to go in the world, if you will. But, taking a road trip to the Shark Tank, I mean, that's just about as electric of a venue as you can possibly get, in my opinion. But a couple of challenging meets on there as well for this Pioneer side. And as we mentioned at the beginning as well, they do find themselves in the national rankings as they sit at 13th.
Yeah, and if you think about it, you're traveling, clear across the country, and I believe it's like a 6-hour time difference between our time and Hawaii. So it's a big adjustment. So, you're going back to their trip to Hawaii, you're not only looking at the time frame that they have to adjust their bodies to and competing, but of course, all the anxious and anxiety that's going through them and going to a new place and keeping them focused.
Travel too, yeah.
Yes, keeping them, and your body being tired, and yes, absolutely. So a lot of variables come into play.
It's just one of the things that makes the sport so interesting is the fact that you can have matchups like that in terms of geography when it comes down to the matchups, in terms of institution size when it comes to these matchups. I mean, one of the favorite things I've seen so far to this point in time was we had a Division III against Division I opponent at the national championships last year at Hardin-Baylor and Oregon.
Absolutely, and what opportunities these athletes have. I mean, it's so exciting for them that they're provided and afforded with opportunities that they may never have if it weren't for participating and being an athlete in this sport.
Frostburg State coming up here to close out their portion of event number 1 shortly. They await the call.
Yes, we're getting ready to begin the compulsory tumbling, and this is where you will see 8 athletes who will be doing a series of standing skills and then one running skill. And it's a little bit more challenging because you're looking at syncing all these skills together as well as their technique.
Looking to close out here on the right foot.
In addition to syncing these skills, we're really looking at sticking and standing each element. Legs separating, little hops. These are little deductions that are made and can be taken from the officials. So we're really focusing on execution.
And one of the things I always like to point out when it starts to get into this territory when you see some of these skills being performed is the fact that all that power that you see, some people who may be new to watching this mat is different than typical gymnastics. As that power all comes from them.
Yes, it does. You can see that we're on both actually a foam mat, and it's not a spring floor. So, you know, what they generate is from the wood below and the mat itself. So we have gymnasts that come in, and it's a little different. Sometimes they have to adapt to, they're tumbling now to the floor surface. You see a toe touch back tuck. That's a handspring tuck.
Glenville closing out here event number 1 shortly. Off and running we are here this afternoon. Wherever you may be watching right now, I mean, maybe a little bit of leftover lunchtime. It's about 2:17. Hopefully you're enjoying your lunch or whatever you might be doing here as you join us here this afternoon.
Great way to start off your Friday.
Yeah, great way to start off the weekend.
You can see the teams are starting to loosen up a little bit more. Okay, their music's playing and they're dancing with the music, and
that is really one of the things that I think helps a lot when it comes to this, because when you get out there, and especially if it's very quiet like it is here now, you're just kind of there with your thoughts as thinking about executing. That's something that helps, I think, these athletes to stay in the right frame of mind. Tough thing to take a magnifying glass to there to see if you can find any trouble, if you will.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Health Plan is a proud corporate partner of the Mountain East Conference and its 23 championship sports. The Health Plan, headquartered in Wheeling,
Maybe a little bit towards the middle there.
you see a few little hops and scoots, and they look at legs bending on handsprings and legs apart, and those little deductions start to add up.
But we are through 1 here. We'll step aside, and when we come back, we'll get ready for event number 2. Stay tuned here. Mountain East Conference Acrobatic and Tumbling Championships. Don't go anywhere.
Fairmont State University is a great place. A cozy campus surrounded by nature and outdoor adventure. An authentic school filled with friendly people who are down to earth. People who roll up their sleeves, help each other out, get stuff done, and have fun doing it. That's what makes Fairmont State such a great place. It's a great place to make friends for life and a great place to soar. Learn more at fairmontstate.edu.
Difficulty and combination of each skill. In addition, the second event is the Acro event. This marks the beginning of the optional portion of the meet. Each team will compete with skills previously chosen with different possible start values. There will be between 2 and 4 athletes in a group on the floor in each of the 3 heats. Heat 1 has 5 elements, Heat 2 has 6 elements, and Heat 3 has 7 elements. The start value is determined by the difficulty and combination of each skill. In addition, each position must be held for 3 seconds. This event demonstrates power, strength, and balance.
Welcome back here as we get set for event number 2. Why don't we get a little bit more familiar with how that runs in the meantime? Oh, well, you got acquainted to things here as we get ready for event number 2. But through 1, a lot of energy here on a Friday afternoon between Frostburg State and Glenville State.
I think we're waiting for the scores to come up for the
We don't want to give too much away
first
yet.
heat.
I promised I wouldn't give anything away.
No, it'll be coming up here shortly.
And it'll be nice to see Kutztown coming up here in the nightcap as they make their debut in Mountain East Conference Championships. The Golden Bears from the eastern part of Pennsylvania, for those who might not be familiar. And it's always important when it gets to this point in time. You want to make sure those decimal points are in the right place and double, triple check your math. And if you're me, you're quadruple checking your math. That's different, though.
Absolutely. I'm glad I'm not sitting at that table.
You and me both. Of course, in event number 2, that'll break down into 3 portions when we get to that point. Looks like we might be good to go here.
And ladies and gentlemen, here are your scores for the compulsory event. In the Acro heat for Frostburg State, 8.750. And for Glenville State, 9.275. In the pyramid heat for Frostburg State, 9.450. And for Glenville State, 9.700. In the toss event for Frostburg State, 9.225. And for Glenville State, 9.200. And in the tumbling heat for Frostburg State, 8.150. And for Glenville State, 7.500. Your total for the compulsory event for Frostburg State University, 35.575. And for Glenville State, 35.675.
How about that? A 9-7 for Glenville State in that pyramid portion there.
Yes, very, very good score, very strong score.
5-element coming up here as the Bobcats make their way onto the floor. We'll check that out again here in a little bit, just to run through it a little bit deeper, if you will. But here are the Bobcats to kick off the second event.
Okay, here you will see in this Acro event, each group on the mat will be executing 5 skills. Oh, save.
Just able to work through things there.
Yeah, sometimes a little bit of nerves, a little jitters. She went back up into the shoulder stand again to complete the rest of her 5 elements. So that way she would be scored on those. You have 45 seconds to do so, and if you keep moving forward. That's pretty easy to do. when you have 45 seconds with 5 elements. Now, if that happens in 7 elements, it's a little difficult because you barely get your 7 elements in that 45-second period.
That's right.
So good recovery from where she came down. And again, there will be a deduction.
We will see Glenville State getting into the action here in a little bit. And then off to the 6th element once we conclude here.
Sometimes you see it takes the officials just a little bit longer to score because, you know, when there is a
something like that
fall
happens,
that occurs, that you know, they have to make those adjustments. On the other hand, sometimes we see the scoring goes pretty quickly, and when that happens, usually think, oh, they probably scored pretty well in that event.
See a couple members of, I believe that is Kutztown up there watching, getting prepared towards the top of Joe Retton Arena.
Yes, yeah, the other teams are starting to come in.
Might be doing a little bit of scouting perhaps on their own end of things as they look to score an upset later on today.
Probably scouting and maybe a little bit of visual imagery, visualization of the mat, and kind of get the feel of the auditorium and getting ready to compete.
Here comes Glenville now.
You will see as we start in the acro that they'll have different start values depending upon the difficulty of what they're executing on the mat and their elements. There we saw hand in hand, very good stability, good balance.
Another good look here from a different angle.
Yes.
Always this part right here. Just the concentration you have to be able to thread the needle like that.
Colin, I want to see you try that later.
Yeah, we'll be here for a while. But either way, a well done addition there from the Pioneers. The answer coming now from the Bobcats as we jump forward to the 6th element.
With a start time of 9.90, let's welcome the Bobcats of Frostburg State University.
Again, with the 6th element, we will see two different groups working within the team that are synced.
And that was definitely important to them there to clean things up a little bit after the beginning there and get some solid footing established once again.
Yes, it's to get yourself focused and back on track.
And I think they did a great job at that.
Yes, they did. And again, you've got two different groups, and that makes it even that much more difficult.
That's right. Always great to have plenty of angles here from the video productions staff. Gives us a chance to go back and look at things from a couple different lenses here just to see if there's anything that we might have missed at the beginning of things.
Now, you have to remember that the officials, though, are seeing all this in real time and scoring it. And
yeah,
of course
we're just amateurs, if you will.
Absolutely. And they're looking at it from the front view only. And you have the scores in the back production, and they're actually see it from a completely different angle. So sometimes they'll see things that we don't.
Now, even with a counter out there, it can be a little difficult sometimes to get those dismounts on the same page, if you will. We saw that a little bit here, but it's not like it's anything out of the ordinary or anything wrong, if you will. It can just be difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, even like you said for the counter, they're watching and they know, and they're even though they're counting straight through, but sometimes you'll see them kind of, I don't want to say hesitate, but vary a little bit, to accommodate. But again, they're trying to keep it as true as possible as to how they practice it, how they do it over and over again.
Final portion of event number 2 coming up here as we get ready for the 7 element. The addition from the Bobcats will be on the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, heat 3 in this event will be the 7th element. Up first with a start value of 10.00. Let's welcome the Frostburg State Bobcats.
And don't forget, this was a Frostburg team a year ago that came into this facility as the number 2 seed and found a way to capture the championship at the end of the regular season against Fairmont State. It was 270 to 266, and if my memory serves me correct, that was down to the wire all the way to that team event.
Very good meet. Yes, it was. Very good meet.
Glenville was here as well. It's actually a rematch between the first round of last year, as Frostburg was the 2 seed and Glenville the 3. We just decided to flip the numbers around this year. We'll have a closeout event 2 for the Frostburg side.
Yes, as we look at start values, and we will see that sometimes they won't. Some teams don't go for that 10, but they may go for 9.9 or 9.95, and back off just a little bit. And many times it's just a coaching strategy. It's not that they cannot do or execute that, but the coach may be looking at the consistency of repetition and replicating a skill over and over again, perfection. And you can see the clock ticking.
One more portion here of event number 2 as we wait for the Pioneers to step up. jump into event number 3.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, taking the floor for the 7th element with a start value of 10.00. Here are the Glenville State Pioneers.
The conference tournament, the officials for the conference tournament have 2 extra officials than we do at regular meets. So we have a panel of 5 as opposed to a panel of 3. So you're going to have 2 of the officials who are focused on the tops, 2 officials that are focused on the bases and looking at movement.
And I'll tell you, that's a lot of trust there in a freshman at the top of that. That's Sydney West, number 17, native of Ramsey, Minnesota. Getting the call on top of that.
Yes, it's fun to look at the rosters and just to see where everyone comes from, because they do come from all over the country.
We are through 2 here. We'll step aside as we prepare for event number 3. Stay tuned here for Mountain East Conference Acrobatic and Tumbling Championships here.
Half. In the pyramid event, athletes will build. The third event is the pyramid event. The pyramid event will be the final event in the first half. In the pyramid event, athletes will build 3 layers in a structure. The start value of each heat is determined by the difficulty and the combination of the entry, structure, and dismount. The pyramid event has 3 different heats with different requirements for each heat. Heat 1 must be an inversion, Heat 2 must be synchronized, and Heat 3 is an open heat. 2 key things the officials will be looking out for are the position of the top and the stability of the structure.
For Frostburg State, 7.700, and for Glenville State, 9.525. In the 6th element heat, for Frostburg State, 9.350, and for Glenville State, 9.175. And in the 7th element heat, for Frostburg State University, 9.125, and for Glenville State University, 9.375. Your Acro event totals for Frostburg State 26.175 and for Glenville State 28.075. Your 2 event totals, Frostburg State 61.750 and Glenville State 63.750.
2 here as we welcome you back. We get ready to kick off event number 3. Saw the intro for that earlier. We'll check out the scores here shortly after we see our first entry. Now, we'll take a look at this here again, but not quite sure what occurred there towards the middle of things, but a really great effort to keep that solid.
It is. It is. A lot of strength, core strength, upper body strength, looking at the stability of the mid base, who is the person standing on the thighs. And then, of course, you know, the strength of the top, which a lot of people don't realize that they not only have to have the balance and the ability to stay nice and tight, but they have to have the core strength to not let themselves fall out of the execution of that skill early.
We'll see things here again. Just able to avoid disaster there, if you will. One more coming up from the Pioneers. In the meantime, why don't we check out our scores here, as we did get them from event number 2.
Now, as we look at the scores, we see there's a little bit more of a separation now coming through. We've got a total of 2 points, it looks like, difference between the two teams. But they can make that up very easily in the second half.
It's a running total of 63.75 for Glenville to Frostburg's 61.75. Just wanted to check my math there once again, and yes, can confirm that is what we are working with. We wait for the first edition from the Pioneers here. And as you said, that's not a deficit to panic about by any means.
No, no.
Still a lot left here. We'll call this in softball, baseball terms, about the top of the third, if you will.
Good analogy.
And we'll wait for the Pioneers. They look ready. They're just waiting for that thumbs up.
Yes, we're in our last event before we go to break for a half. So we got 2 more after the Pioneers go this time. 2 more heats.
They look to defend that 2-point lead that they currently hold. And it looks like it's their time.
As we look at that hand-in-hand that she executed, you can see the tightness, the stability. That's where we see that many of the athletes on the floor are able to execute that official C, and that's where the deductions really do come from. So she's pushing up, she holds that straddle, has to be a 3-second hold, see just a little bit of movement. And then she dismounts and she has a nice high catch.
Moving on forward here as we get ready for the synchronized portion of event 3. Bobcat crew is ready to roll.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Pyramid Heat number 2, the Synchronized Pyramid. Taking the floor first with a start value of 10.00. Let's
So you can see as we go into that second heat for pyramid that, again, we have two structures that are out on the floor, out on the mat. And so they have to be concerned not only with skill execution, but synchronization as well.
Right. The answer coming from Glenville, and then we move into the final portion of event 3, and we find ourselves halfway home. One of two.
We start to see a little different skills out now with this. You know, we had a hand-in-hand a few minutes ago. Now we have a full extension. It'll be interesting to see what the sync pyramid is for Glenville coming up.
Shouldn't be too much longer of a wait here. They try to contain themselves. That kind of energy, it's really infectious throughout this entire arena here. You see a lot of the crowd behind us getting involved and getting pretty energized too. Like we said earlier, there's quite a bit of Glenville fans here. Of course, both of these programs not making too far of a trip here, essentially in the middle of both, if you will. For those of you that are big geography fans, if you will.
The central location.
That's right.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the synchronized
Yeah, you can see a bit of the Glenville folk.
Let's welcome the Pioneers of Glenville State University.
This time we saw a little different base. They were pushing up from a bridge from the ground as opposed to a thigh stand. Again, you know, they take these different skills, they chain them together, and they get their start values. I believe they both had 10 start values from the just two different skill levels of way they pull their skills together from Glenville and Frostburg, different ways that they approach it. Looking at stability, the height of the legs, the rotation as you come down for the dismount, and of course synchronization.
Open coming up here for the Frostburg side as they look to finish off their first half on a high note.
Now we're down to our last heat.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Pyramid Heat number 3, the Open Pyramid. Up first with a start value 10.00. Let's welcome the Frostburg State Bobcats.
And that'll do it for their first half.
Yes. As you see, as she mounts and she pulls legs up and through, nice high elevated pike. Solid landing and a dismount.
One more portion here of the first half. We'll get it shortly. Actually, it looks like right now.
Up in the Open Pyramid with a start line of 10.00. Let's welcome the Glenville State Pioneers.
as you can look at both of the last heats of Glenville and of Frostburg, they had similar skills that they did. The dismounts were different. And again, they're just reaching that 10 start value.
And we'll step aside quickly here. When we come back, we'll get to hear from one of the head coaches of both of these sides here. But stick around. We are at halftime between Glenville State and Frostburg State for the Acrobatics and Tumbling 2025 MEC Championships here with Video Productions.
For over 4 decades, the health plan is called West Virginia Home. It all started with a vision to serve our community with pride and integrity. We've grown alongside West Virginia, becoming part of its fabric. We've been here through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Because at the health plan, we don't just work here, we live here. Proudly serving West Virginia since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community. The health plan, here for you.
At Glenville State University, you can discover friends to last a lifetime, professors who broaden your perspective, and the skills and education for future success in a small town environment. At Glenville State University, you can become a pioneer.
Welcome back here at the half between Glenville State and Frostburg State. Why don't we send it over to the third member of our team, Haley, who's standing by with head coach Taylor Broadwater of the Glenville State Pioneers.
Thank you. I'm here with head coach Taylor. And Taylor, can you talk to us a little bit about your team's performance in the first half?
Yeah, I'm very proud of my girls. The execution, I thought, has been very good. We've worked on cleaning up some events all week, and overall their energy is what's really helping them today.
Is there any standout athletes or moments that happened from the first half that you're particularly proud of?
Really proud of Savannah Duckworth, obviously a first team all-conference member, but she's been down this week. She's had some injuries and stuff, so seeing her come out and compete today is everything I can ask of her.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach, for meeting with us. Send it back to Colin.
Thank you for that. It's always nice to get a little bit of an insight when we can hear from the strategy. We're thinking what the head coaches are thinking, at least to the halfway point here. And of course, we'll hear from the Frostburg State side coming up here shortly as well, so stick around. It's Frostburg State and Glenville State here in the 2025 Acrobatic and Tumbling MEC Championships here on Video Productions.
Fairmont State University is a great place. A cozy campus surrounded by nature and outdoor adventure. An authentic school filled with friendly people who are down to earth. People who roll up their sleeves, help each other out, get stuff done, and have fun doing it. That's what makes Fairmont State such a great place. It's a great place to make friends for life and a great place to soar. Learn more at fairmontstate.edu.
For over 4 decades, the health plan is called West Virginia Home. It all started with a vision to serve our community with pride and integrity. We've grown alongside West Virginia, becoming part of its fabric. We've been here through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Because at the health plan, we don't just work here, we live here. Proudly serving West Virginia since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community. The health plan, here for you.
halfway through here between Glenville State and Frostburg State, the first of two here this Friday afternoon. The 2 and the 3 seeds looking for the first berth into championship Saturday. That'll be first tomorrow. As we can take a look at what we've got score-wise to this point in time. See if anything might stand out to us at all.
It's been a very exciting first half.
And we're sticking with that trend of things being rather close here. But of course, this is the first of two. We'll have Fairmont and Kutztown as Fairmont looks to get their way back into the championship after falling in the championship last year to this Frostburg side, as Kutztown makes their MEC championship debut as well. A lot of fun stuff coming up in that one.
Oh, there is. Yes, there will be.
And as someone who comes from before making their way to the Mountain East Conference and a bit of a PSAC background in myself, it's fun to see that bit of crossover here as we see the Golden Bears getting welcomed into the fold.
Oh, yes, and actually their head coach was a former team member at Fairmont State a few years ago.
You think about it, it's a big web, but at the same time, it's also a very close-knit family, too, when it comes to this sport.
It absolutely is, yes. You know, we started out, very small, and we've just grown leaps and bounds. And
the growth isn't done yet.
No, it's not.
We
continue to grow, yes, absolutely. We're continuing to get larger and larger every year and every season. And it's exciting just to watch how many coaches that we see come out of these different teams. The NCATA has done a very nice job in developing coaches as well as officials. They offer a program called the 3P program at the end of the year, and these athletes that want to aspire to become coaches will go to a summit, and they're introduced to it. They go through a lot of training, so it's not just you want to coach and you're thrown into a position. You're trained to do this, and a lot of mentorship. Each new coach has a mentor that they work with throughout the season, and the officials go through a similar process.
Well, we'll step aside there as you see those scores on your screen. When we come back, we'll hear it from Frostburg State head coach Katie Amador. Stick around in the meantime. Glenville State and Frostburg State right here on MEC TV.
What's possible when you have the freedom to explore things that inspire you? To be a part of a community that supports and challenges you? Where can you go to find the space and time to reach your goals? Who can you become when you're able to make connections in a place where you belong? Find out what's possible at Frostburg State University.
Welcome back here. In the meantime, the third member of our team, Haley, once again with the Frostburg State head coach. Let's see what she has to say.
Thanks, Colin. I'm here with Frostburg's head coach, Katie. Katie, talk to us a little bit about, your team had one or two challenging events in the first half, but how did they kind of pick back up and overcome that? We saw that. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I feel like they put a lot of pressure on themselves about this meet, and I really told them at the end of the day, it's us against us. It's just another meet that we have to do better than our last, and they really need to rally together and come together as a team and use each other. That's what they're there for, right? So that's one thing that I've really told them, to just lean on each other, and if you got jitters, go tell somebody so you get rid of those jitters. At the end of the day, they do usually a great job job at coming back, and you saw that whenever we went out for 6 and 7, they did really good. And the second half, I'm excited for them to come back from that too.
Yeah, definitely. What's one word that you would use to describe your team this year and why?
I would say we're resilient because we've overcome a lot this season. It seems like week after week we've had something we've had to rework, injuries that have occurred, and I feel like that's something that our seniors last year, they brought to this team, is that resiliency. So I would say that is one word that describes them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie, for joining us, and good luck in the second half. Thanks, and I'll go ahead and send it back to Colin and Christy.
Just a little bit longer of a wait here as we get ready for the second half. We'll step aside one more time, and when we come back, we'll be ready for action between Glenville State and Frostburg State. Stick around here on MEC TV.
For over 4 decades, the health plan is called West Virginia Home. It all started with a vision to serve our community with pride and integrity. We've grown alongside West Virginia, becoming part of its fabric. We've been here through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Because at the health plan, we don't just work here, we live here. Proudly serving West Virginia since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community. The health plan. Here for you.
At Glenville State University, you can discover friends to last a lifetime, professors who broaden your perspective, and the skills and education for future success in a small town environment. At Glenville State University, you can become a pioneer.
Four athletes toss. The fourth event is the toss event. In the toss event, you will see 4 athletes toss a teammate into the air. The teammate tossed into the air, known as a top, will execute a flip or twist before being caught. There are 3 heats in this event. The synchronized toss features 2 toss groups. These groups should look exactly alike and be in sync. The start value of the toss depends on the skills that the top executes in the air. Officials will be looking for height, the top's body position, and tight catches by the bases.
Welcome back here. Like we promised, we're ready for the second half here between these two. It took a little bit of time to get there as always, but we're ready to go.
Yes, as we start the second half, we're going to go into the event of toss. And we're going to see it moves really pretty quickly. That, go from one team to the other. It doesn't take very long to throw a toss up in the air and catch, yes.
We can take a look here at our scores through this point in time for those who might be coming back after their brief halftime break, whatever it is you had to take care of. Let's have a look here and see where we stand to this point in time. Keeping it close, just as we thought.
Yes, and it's just about the same difference at the end of the pyramid as it was after the second heat that we had.
And if we could take a look at event 3 and the scores for that as well, just to dial it in a little bit. Had that a little bit earlier, but there's another look at that as you can catch yourself up to where we're at. 9-8 is definitely something the Bobcat side is pretty happy with to close out the first half.
And sometimes some teams are first half teams, some teams are second half teams, so we're about to find out
who's who.
Yes.
It's the Bobcats, the Pioneers, trying to punch a ticket into tomorrow's finals. The first heat of the toss event will be the 450 Salto toss. Up first with a start height of 9.40. Let's welcome the Bobcats of Frostburg State University.
Here come the Bobcats as we kick off the second half. just like you said, it's rather quick to the point, and they establish themselves on a good foot here to open up.
Yes, it is, and officials are looking for the height of the toss, the body position, nice layout, and she did a 360 layout. As you can see, it's one full. And you may see another team that throws, a double full, and their start value is going to be a little bit higher, but then you have a lot of different variables that come into play when deductions that could happen, looking at body position and height that are affected.
Here's the entry now from the Pioneers. And it's keeping with the theme that we've got so far in this one of things being close against these two and really just back and forth affairs so far.
Yes, as we can see that they actually did a 2 rotation in the air with their layout position. So with that double full, they're going to have a higher start value. So keep that in mind when we see the final scores come up.
And towards the top of things there, that was Savannah Duckworth. And as we heard at the half, she's been dealing with a little bit of an injury problem so far this week, and she continues to find a way to push through that. And that's what good athletes do at this point in time of the year.
I think a lot of times that's where you see the experience come into play. I believe she's a senior this year. Junior. Oh, she's got one more year.
Plenty of time left to add to her accolades. And
yes.
She did pick up one at the beginning of the meet here as well when we got things started. Synchronized coming up now for the Bobcats. I think you can start to feel things building their way here as they make their way off the floors. You can see a lot of big smiles. Those were kind of reserved there in the first half, had a couple of missteps, but they seem to be finding a way to put things together.
Yes, both of these were very clean, good height, nice body position. They're good extension, okay, solid catches. And again, it's, looking to see if the catch, the drop, if there's any drop in the catch. It can be a deduction as well.
Glenville coming up here next shortly as we cruise right along here in event number 4. Like you said, it's a quick one. You got to pay attention. Make sure you got your eyes glued to the screen.
And you can see both skills were exactly the same that were done by both teams. They did a layout and a 360. And we will see, it allows us to see them compared apples to apples. They had the same start value then. The final scores come up.
One more portion here as we continue to move on along as we step into the open portion here of event 4.
Yes, as we look at the open toss, this is where, depending upon what their ability is, you'll see some different tosses come in sometimes. And, you can only repeat the same skill in the second, which is the sync toss, and in the third heat, or the synchronize the second heat and the first heat. Okay, you cannot do all 3 of the same skills. So it gives us a little bit more variety. And, again, that's a coaching strategy, deciding what athletes you have that do best. Because you can only cross over so many athletes. Again, they can either do the heat 2, which is synced, along with Heat 3 or Heat 2 along with Heat 1 as far as athletes go, but you can't cross over in all three.
The final heat will be the open toss. Up first with a start value of 9.50. Let's welcome the Frostburg State Bobcats.
You can see that they increased their level of difficulty from their first toss of the layout with a 360 twist. They added a kick to it, and something that officials will look at. They'll look at how deep or how extended the kick was. How far do they spread their legs on that part? They do have an angle that they have to hit at that point, and then they're looking at the body position, our legs together, the catch. So a lot of variables go into play. Did a very nice job.
One more portion coming up here as the Pioneers answer once again. And we find ourselves into really a point where you get to start to zero in a little bit on individual members of each of these rosters when we get into event number 5.
Yes, when you get into the tumbling, then a lot of weight goes on some of the athletes when they're out there by themselves, and their skill that they're doing is worth 10 points. And when you get into the toss part, you can pretty much tell what skill they're going to throw when you hear the start value. Going through, she did a layout with a 360. And then sometimes you'll see them angle to the side, they'll go to the front. Again, that's preference.
We find ourselves closing out another portion here. Stay with us as we get ready for event number 5 after this break right here. You're watching the MEC Acrobatics and Tumbling Championships here on MEC TV.
The last three are the fifth event is the tumbling event. This event has 6 heats. The first three are synchronized group tumbling passes, a duo, trio, and quad tumbling pass. The last three are individual tumbling passes. The start value of each heat are determined by the difficulty and combination of skills in each heat. Officials will be looking for body position, continuity of skills, and technique in each skill.
Set for event number 5 here from Joe Renton Arenas. We wait on the scores from event number 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, the score for the toss event are in.
It looks like we've got them.
Direct your attention to the video board. In the 450 salto heat for Frostburg State 9.000 and for Glenville State 9.425. In the synchronized heat for Frostburg State 8.850 and for Glenville State 8.675. And in the open heat for Frostburg State 9.20 totals for the toss event. Frostburg State 27.050 and for Glenville State 27.025. Your 4 event totals, Frostburg State 117.275 and for Glenville State 119.925.
And there you have it so far through 4. We get ready now for the first run from Ryan Fisk. He's number 4 for the Bobcats, a freshman from Chandler, Arizona. She'll be starting from the right side of the floor. Has some floor experience on her resume. Was a regional floor champion 2021 and level 10 floor state champion in 2022. Oh, my apologies, I actually had a change there. We'll get to that shortly. It was actually number 8 and number 5 making their way through there. That was Bailey Mainfield as well as Nia Ivanov. Again, my apologies. However, one of them still from Arizona. Did want to mention that. Was slightly correct in that area, but Mainfield from Chandler, Arizona, and Nia Ivanov from Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. The pair out there.
Yes, as we look at the duo pass that they're executing across the floor, we do see that they're really working on that synchronization, keeping everything in time together. That is very difficult to do when you're tumbling, when you're moving across the floor. And then we're looking at all the different skills that they're executing, and they're trying to reach that high start value, the highest that they can get, and still execute with minimal deductions. You're looking at body position, legs together, height, amplitude, sticking your landing. Okay. You'll see some teams that will take a step at the end, some that don't. They have to declare that step. They're allowed to do that. And again, any time that they were to step off the mat, once they begin their tumbling, they land off the mat or step off the mat, there are deductions as well.
Now there is Savannah Duckworth, number 33. We mentioned her earlier, the junior from Worthington, West Virginia, and flanking to her left, that's Sydney West, number 17. Then that freshman that we had mentioned as well in the first half of the meet here out of Ramsey, Minnesota.
Now, with a start value of 9.55, let's meet the duo from Glenville State University, number 17, Sydney West.
Duckworth, of course, all MEC first team a year ago in 2024. To East Fairmont High.
Here we saw a little deviation from synchronization on that pass, and looking at the landing, see on number 17 that she was back a little bit on her landing, and these are different things that the officials are going to be looking at. Now that you can see that they go in different directions on the roundoff, that doesn't matter, okay, or for their directions of twisting. Again, it's looking at the synchronization and the execution of the skill.
We'll see the trio coming up now from the Bobcats.
You watch some of the athletes, they stand on the side of the mat and they go through different arm motions and visualization before they go out. They actually see themselves doing a skill and getting warmed up. Sometimes it's just their modeling that they do prior to get themselves ready, get themselves psyched, stay focused.
Lena Marie Cepeda, number 2 there towards the middle. She'll be a part of this trio. Number 21, Julia Welch, the sophomore there towards the left side of your screen. Over there on the right, that is number 39, Grace Whaley, a freshman from Annapolis. Good mix here for this trio.
When we look at the training that occurs from these athletes, many of them come from the gymnastics background. They've had years and years of practice focusing on technique.
they're ready.
Okay.
Now, talk about that ending portion there for those who might not know.
Yeah, number 2, she did not stick her landing. She had her momentum carrying her forward, and she kind of took 2 or 3 steps to catch herself. Of course, that's going to be a deduction. She was able to stay on the mat, which is good.
It's a lot of force to bring to a stop there quickly at the end.
Right, and a lot of times I think remember they're doing the 1.5. It's a blind landing and not knowing where they are sometimes coming around and reaching to the mat.
You see the trio that is selected here for the Pioneers coming up shortly.
Well, also, too, as we go into the duo pass, the trio pass, and the quad pass, they have to be different. None of those can be duplicated, so you have to have different skills. And this is where you really see the depth of your team because, you've got to figure out you've got 9 different athletes. They can't cross over, so you have to have 9 different athletes, and you're trying to get the highest start value that you can and, working them in different positions, and then they have to be synced together, and, it's a lot that comes into play.
So it'll be Meredith Taylor. And that's a hometown kid right there from Fairmont. Aubrey Ward, number 21, another freshman from Huntington. And then over there towards the right side, that's Samantha Bragg, the senior out of Branchland, West Virginia.
Okay, so they synced a layout, body position, and again, they're, part of it's strategy, seeing the number of athletes you have and what skills you have that you're going to have them to execute. A little off in the timing, from the round up to the first handspring. Looking at body position.
Off to the quad we go here as we wait for the addition from the Bobcats. We'll see who gets the call here shortly.
One thing to keep in mind that the more people that you have in each event, that sometimes you want to back off on the number of elements that you're putting out on the floor, because the more elements you have, the more deductions you can have. So it's not uncommon to see, a lot of quads do, round off handsprings, 1.5s, or, even fulls or layouts the way we're doing, because they're not putting a lot of handsprings in the middle, because that's where a lot of times deductions come from, and also your synchronization comes from.
Looks like our 4 have stepped forward here. That is Joanna Welch, number 12, the sophomore from Leesburg, Virginia. Number 26, Caitlin Green, that's a junior from North Wales, Pennsylvania. There towards the far left side, that is Marion Pastori, another junior, that's from Norwood, Massachusetts. And then finally towards the right there, I believe that is 26, if I'm not mistaken. Eyes are playing tricks on me. That jersey's a little bit bunched up, maybe 29. Eleanor Ongren, the junior from Ferndale, Michigan.
So they're from all over the country.
Good mix in this group of 4 here. We'll see if those numbers end up changing or not, but the way things are spread right now, I would assume that's the group we'll see.
Yeah. You can remember in event 5, we've got 6 different heats going through, starting from duo pass, finishing in the individuals, and that can really make a difference in the final score, depending on how well you execute during this event.
Let's meet the Bobcats of Frostburg State University. Number 12, Joanna Welch. Number 26, Caitlin Green. Number 29, Eleanor Ongren. And number 32,
Very well done there, I would say. You know, I always thought what would happen if you got maybe a little extra half a point for your coordinated celebrations at the end there. Boy, wouldn't things get interesting.
We'd see a lot more people celebrating, wouldn't we? Okay, as we watch this, as they hurdle, initiate the skill, that's where we see that the officials start to judge or evaluate their skills. We noticed that there was just a little bit off on the synchronization. And, of course, they're not going to have as high of a start value with their quad as they did with their other two heats that they did because, they did round of handspring pulls. And so they weren't quite as difficult. But, again, you've got 4 people out there.
Now the group for the Pioneers looks like they've found a way to get themselves set. Looks like from left to right, you'll see Megan Banks, the senior from Bowmanstown, Pennsylvania. Next up, number 7, Delaney Rosales, the junior from South Elgin, Illinois. And there's number 15 following her. That's Jillian Hine, the freshman from Clawson, Michigan. And all the way over there on the right side of your screen, that is Sydney O'Connor, number 8, the freshman again from Ramsey, Minnesota.
And again, you've got from all over.
They set themselves up, but as we mentioned, it's just always nice to get a little bit more of a personal touch when you see where all these athletes have made their way from to set up to these programs.
I think that's what makes it so exciting. This sport has been able to bring so many athletes together. It's just, these teams become a melting pot for these student athletes on their campuses. And the diversity is just unbelievable that they're exposed to.
After this, we'll break things down a little bit more here, and we'll get towards the aerial, as you had mentioned, and then we can really start to zero in a little bit more on some of the members of both of these rosters and dig a little bit deeper, if you will, as we wait for Glenville State's quartet to get out there. Don't think they'll be doing any singing, I don't think. Maybe afterwards, but not before or during. No. Just making sure all those decimals are in place to where they need to be after that. For those of you just joined, you can see that running score there in the top right of your screen. Where we stand so far, that's complete through 4. Bit of an in-depth look here. Once again, you can see how we got to where we are. Not much left here in our first matchup. And, of course, the best for last at the end.
And we can see that after half that Frostburg is coming back just a little bit. They made a little advancement in that. And we'll see what the end of the Event 5 with tumbling, how it pans out.
Again, this is not a place that I would want to be calculating all of these numbers and really splitting hairs, if you will, just to make sure things are in the right place.
And you're right, sometimes it comes down to that .05
really,
or
yeah.
.10. We've seen a few meets like this year that ended up with really tight scores at the end.
You can see maybe it's getting to the point here where it might start to set into the minds here as they might be kind of overthinking like, okay, we're trying to stay where we need to be mentally.
The music stops and it gets quiet.
Can't let the music lapse now. There we go. But in your time, if you could think to this point and from what you've seen, and I mean, you've been to a lot of meets, obviously, what would, to your mind, what would be the longest wait that you've seen to this point in time that you could think of off the top of your head, and what came of that wait, if you will?
Okay, well, this really is a long wait right now. I didn't see anything that occurred from our standpoint, with the quad that went through with Frostburg, but maybe there's something
well, in terms of maybe experiences that you've had before at other meets, if anything maybe comes to the top of your mind that you might have seen that was something similar to this and what came from it at that point in time that you saw.
Well, many times when there is a long wait, there's because there was an injury, something happens, but that does not happen too often. It's few and far between. It could be something, just maybe a glitch in the system. We rely so much on technology, you know how that is.
There is a lot, yeah. But in the meantime, we'll take a look here at the bracket once again, just to get familiar. You can see where we sit and where things will go.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, you know what? We'll do that a little bit later.
Perfect
It looks
timing.
like it's that time. Couldn't do that again if I tried.
We'll see the replay here in just a second. They had very good synchronization. Sometimes you don't know when you're standing and waiting so long. Sometimes it gets to your nerves. Here we go. And round off, handspring, and pull. Body positions look good from our angle. Legs were together on the handsprings. No steps at the end. Look pretty good. But again, we're not sitting at the table, are we?
We are not.
Okay, now we're going to see some more of the difficult passes that are going to be thrown. These are the individual passes. They're going to start here in a second. First pass is going to be an aerial pass. And we will see Frostburg up first for that.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, we should be seeing number 8 for the Bobcats in Bailey Minifield. We'll see sometimes they change up their entry point onto the mat, and it can be a bit confusing, but I do believe that's what the plan's going to be. And if so, that is the freshman from Chandler, Arizona.
Yeah.
We now head into the individual tumbling passes. First,
Two-time cheerleader at Hamilton High School.
8.60. It's the Bobcats of Frostburg State University. Let's say hello to number 8, Bailey Minifield.
You can see that many times they start off the mat, and you're permitted to do that just as you initiate that round off. And they have to be on the mat, and of course they have to land on the mat.
Just trying to find a way to keep that spacing in your mind of where you're at on the mat at all times, especially when you're bending and twisting the whole way through there. It's actually a lot harder than people might think.
Yes, and you will see that when they do individual passes, that most of the time they'll start either from that diagonal position, or sometimes they start from this side of the mat from where they are and go across the mat. Either whatever your preference is, and they may get a little bit more room sometimes going the diagonal. Again, making sure that you stay in alignment, straight alignment with your tumbling pass, and that you have proper technique. We see teams warming up on the side. They're looking at getting ready for the final event, which is a team event. So you'll see a lot of acro going up, a lot of pyramids, tumbling, warming up. When you look at the teams are made up of specialists. So you have some individuals that are in everything because they're the utility player that can do everything. Then you have others that are there specifically for tumbling or for strength, okay, in pyramids or acro.
And once again, it is Duckworth getting the call for the Pioneers.
And she's one of those utility.
That's right. And that is something to be proud of and then some.
Absolutely.
Oh, careful over there. Don't want to go flying too far now.
Making sure she gets that full rotation in at the end. She squares up, watching where her body position is. These are little things that the officials are actually looking at. They're trained to pinpoint and ID all of the intricacies of where there may be elements that aren't completed to the best that they could be, or sometimes they might miss them. After all, they are human. We're all human. And
that looks to be Marion Pastori getting ready, the junior out of Norwood, Massachusetts. Part of the academic honor roll for NCATA in 2024, as well as 2023. And a pretty decorated resume before making her way to this squad. 6 varsity letters in gymnastics, as well as track and field. That's a pretty good blend to have when you get yourself into this point here. A state qualifier in gymnastics as well in 2019, 2020, and 2022.
So many of these athletes, they're not only strong athletically, but they're strong in the classroom as well. They're strong academically. You can tell she's excited about that performance. And this is 6 element, which you have to do 6 elements in this pass. So you may see them like maybe they added an extra handspring that they normally wouldn't add because they've got to get that 6th element in there.
And we'll see who is stepping up to the challenge here for the Pioneers momentarily. And there is your answer to the trivia question, if you will. That is Megan Banks getting ready over on the left side of the mat for the Pioneers. Number of 10 meets for Glenville State in 2024. 9 as well in 2023, and came in as a freshman in 2022 and jumped right into 6 meets, and that's definitely something to show that she became a bit of a building block to where they are to this point in time. Another entry well done there for the blue and white.
And when you look at the tumbling, it's not unusual. You wish that it would be unusual, but it's not unusual that you've done something hundreds of times, but that one time your step was off or something fell off a little bit. I noticed there she had a little cross in her legs. Her hamstrings, her legs are a little bit apart. And these are things that the official catch in real time because we're actually looking at a replay. Right. So it's easy for us to spot.
Looks like our next contestant here, you can see number 5 is Nia Ivanov. Another senior on the Bobcat squad from Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. Part of that NCATA honor roll in 2024, 23, and 22. There's also academic all-conference in 2024.
see that she decided to start from the side instead of the diagonal, which was fine. She has a good, strong start value, 9.75. As we watch her replay. Round off 2 whips, 2 handsprings, and a 1.5. A little bit of leg separation on the handsprings, and she's back on her heels, a little bit on her landing, with a 1.5. Again, when you have these blind landings, sometimes, you're being a little cautious, making sure that you stick that landing. So
it looks like getting set to go over there on the left side once again for Glenville. That should be Sydney West, the way things look. Briefly mentioned her earlier.
You can see where Frostburg is starting to regroup, and they've completed the tumbling. They're getting ready for the team event. They will be the first one to take the mat for the team event.
And what kind of advantage does that really bring to your mind when you get to be the first one to step out there for that?
You can set the standard.
Of course.
Okay.
Let's say hello to Glenville State's number 17, Sydney West.
Great save there towards the end.
Yes.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, while we're waiting for the combined results of this event and our meet standings, let's
She comes through a front handspring, front tuck, round off handspring, 1.5. And she didn't quite make a clear round on that ending of that 1.5. She's back on her heels a little bit.
I would much rather be on your heels than on the mat. We'll say that.
Or on your face, right? Fall forward.
That's right. Those scores will get calculated here as we get set for the final. We had mentioned this. We started talking about this here shortly. We had said what kind of advantages you get when you're the first one to step to the mat in this team portion here. And like you said, you get to set the standard.
Oh, absolutely. And, it depends on your athletes, the mental toughness that comes through with them. You'll see most of them don't stand and watch the other teams. They stay in their huddle and they're focusing on what is to come up when they do take the mat. But it's hard. The music's really blasting loud and everyone's cheering and, they want to know what's going on too many times. I feel like that, many times that first team out, it's like, okay, you've done it, you've got it over with, and you left it all out in the mat. Sometimes you hit a nice, strong routine that can inspire the second team to go, or sometimes, it makes them more nervous, and vice versa. If the first team went out and had some drops or falls or, didn't execute quite to the best of their ability, then sometimes that motivates the second team more so too. All we've got to do is go out there and just hit a clean routine. And, you've got arousal and anxiety that come into play. And, of course, I'm sure there's a lot of stress as well.
A lot of moving parts here. Why don't we get acquainted with the final event here as we wait for these scores to get finished up?
Everything you just watched in the first 5 events. The team event features up to 24 athletes on the floor at one time, performing skills in acro, toss, pyramid, and tumbling in a routine set to music. Key items for officials to evaluate include synchronization of skills, stability of the structures, body position, and technique of the tumbling. This is a very fast-paced event, so be sure to keep your eyes on the mat.
And there you have it. That's what we'll see coming up here shortly.
Yes, here come our scores.
Yeah. Hold on to that thought here. We'll come back to it.
attention to the video board. In heat number 1 for Frostburg State, 7.950. And for Glenville State, 8.125. In heat number 2 for Frostburg State, 7.400. For Glenville State, 6.075. In heat number 3 for Frostburg State, 7.300. And for Glenville State, 7.300. In heat number 4 for Frostburg State, 8.250. And for Glenville State, 9.075. In heat number 5 for Frostburg State, 8.125. And for Glenville State, 9.025. And in heat number 6 for Frostburg State, 9.275. And for Glenville State, 8.650.
Hey, it's going to come down to the team event.
We find ourselves with a bit of a 3-point margin here, as that ended up being around the spot we talked about earlier when these teams got together the first time. It was rather close in that regard as well. It was 240 to 237. We'll see how much that translates here as we welcome the Bobcats to wrap up their afternoon, if you will.
Yes, it's going to come down to their start values and execution, team execution.
Put a bow on things for the Bobcats here this afternoon.
Yeah, they, as you see, they begin their team event. For those of you that aren't used to watching their team events, they have to do so many skills, so many acros, so many pyramids, so many tumbling passes that are synced and timed together. And the officials will also be officiating different parts of the mat. So it's not like one official officiates the whole entire thing.
He's looking at everything and trying to keep up with
it. Yes. So that's how, they manage it and do a good job.
Let's get a chance to go back and look at some of these clips here towards the end and maybe see if we missed anything in the first run through.
Yeah, looking at the sync, landings, body positions.
Really an all-around solid effort there to close things out.
And you've got to remember, they're tired at this time. So the endurance is down a little bit for many of them, and it shows. And so that's where maybe they had good, clean catches before, but now they're not quite as clean, okay? Maybe on their tumbling passes, they didn't squeeze their legs together. There was one kick and one that didn't kick, and if it's a sink toss, then they've got to do exactly the same skill. Maybe looking at body positions and making sure that they're nice and straight and tight. Making sure that the core is nice and tight, no movement.
Just
that
for
good.
reference, when we look back at their last regular season outing in terms of where things were when they came in, they come in with a start value of a 98, and they ended up clocking an 84.5. We'll see just the nice thing to compare to when it comes to what we're looking at and where we'll be at the end. Just something to put in your mind, if you will.
You can do that, but you have to remember that we do have a 5-panel officials as opposed to 3. So, usually scores are a little bit lower now because of that reason.
Sure. The Pioneers are up and ready. You can see Kutztown, they're set to go. Their warm-up gear is on. They're ready to get out there and take the mat and get loose for this evening's affair.
I believe they had the longest trip here.
It was quite a ways. I would say close to maybe about 6 hours, give or take, to make their way here. Maybe a little bit more.
If you look at the sideline for Frostburg, they're starting to take their tape off and readjust their shoes. See a few hugs over there. You see some ice packs coming on the backs and shoulders, and they're just regrouping now.
Especially when it comes to this point, if you have to get ready to get back out there tomorrow, recovery is huge when it comes to this point.
Yes, it is. And if you're not an athlete and you're out there competing on the mat, sometimes you don't stop to realize that, okay, you're doing a full meet today, you turn right around and have event finals tomorrow morning, and then you right back at 5 o'clock for another meet if you make it to the championship. So it's essentially you may be doing about 3 meets in one day because, if you're the top team, you're going to have a lot of people in event finals.
You are the Pioneers as they'll look to wrap up their afternoon.
The Pioneers of Glenville State University! Let's go, girls! Let's go, Meredith! Oh, yeah. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is over the trees, younger than the mountains. Yeah!
I've got to say, that was quite the entry there, and they looked thrilled with their effort.
Yes, they were very happy. Good performance, good execution.
And now it's only a matter of time as we find out who will claim the first spot in tomorrow's championship.
It's great watching some of the athletes, and it's like you can see that they just fight. You can watch their faces. They're just really fighting just to keep that skill in the air.
Another good look at some of these angles we were treated to here in this team event.
Watching height and legs, secondary straddles, timing here, or they sync together, legs together. Pick and stand those landings. Again, the officials know what skills they are throwing. So if they happen to not throw a skill that they've claimed, then they will be deducted, of course, from that.
Creative there at the end.
And on the dance part, if you do the dance part, you're given those points for dance. So it's not like you're being, judged or officiated on your dance. You just have to do that. And it adds some excitement and fun.
We'll step aside here. When we come back, we will have a winner and see who advances to tomorrow afternoon's action. Stay tuned here for the 2025 MEC Acrobatics and Tumbling Championships here on NBC TV.
For over 4 decades, the health plan is called West Virginia home. It all started with a vision to serve our community with pride and integrity. We've grown alongside West Virginia, becoming part of its fabric. We've been here through thick and thin, supporting local families and businesses. Because at the health plan, we don't just work here, we live here. Proudly serving West Virginia since 1979. Your trusted partner in the community, the health plan, here for you.
At Glenville State University, you can discover friends to last a lifetime, professors who broaden your perspective, and the skills and education for future success in a small town environment. At Glenville State University, you can become a pioneer.
Moments away from getting our first member in the MEC Championship tomorrow afternoon. Will it be the Frostburg State Bobcats or the Glenville State Pioneers? Only time will tell. The 2 versus 3 matchup, the 1 and 4 matchup coming up here shortly. As we await in the meantime, the winner of this one will take on either the host, Fairmont State, or Kutztown tomorrow afternoon. But now we're going to find out who advances.
We now have the team event scores and the final score for today's meet. In the team event for Frostburg State, 83.430. And for Glenville State, 84.640. Your totals for Frostburg State, 249.005. For Glenville State, 249.
And there you have it. Glenville State is the first entrant in the championship action tomorrow.
Both teams did a wonderful job.
You have to think this is something that they've been building for year in and year out, and this has to be quite the feather in the cap for this squad here. Of course, they do find themselves in the national rankings, and, you know, it's getting to be that time of year where you're going to start paying attention to what's happening there, of course, with the top 8 as they find themselves at 13th right now. But, you know, an upset possibly tomorrow. They could make some noise. You never know.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why you play the game, right?
That's right.
It's been a fun afternoon.
Yeah, we're only just getting started here. Of course, stick around. We'll have our secondary matchup coming up later on. That'll be at 5 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken, between Fairmont State and Kutztown. So we'll be back here for that action in the meantime. And for now, Glenville State finds their way into Championship Saturday, defeating Frostburg State in the 2-3 matchup, 252.815 to 249.005. Make sure you come back and join us here for the nightcap as we'll take a quick break, but don't worry, we'll be back here shortly here on MEC TV. Congrats to the Pioneers as they're on to the championship.